I noticed that one of the torsion springs broke. So if you look at that, is what happened is one of those torsion springs, and here for this 2-car garage doors I have 2 torsion springs, which is good to have 2 instead of 1, because if one breaks it will not slam the door down on someone, which may be very dangerous. So there are 3 measurements. The easier one for me was to look at the numbers here. So it says 225 into 2 into 24, and what that means is the 225 is the width of each of these springs. And how you measure it, it's easy to do it if you measure maybe 10 or 20 springs, and in this case the 20 springs comes out to be 4.5 inches. So one spring is 0.225 inches in that. And the other thing you need to measure is the inside diameter. These are usually 2 inches. Most of those torsion springs for home garage doors are 2 inches, but you should measure it. So that's the 225 into 2, and then the length of the spring. So the length of the spring is 24. In this case I got a 25 or 24.5. So here are my torsion springs I ordered from Amazon, and you can see I got a 225 and 24.5, 2 of those, and then I have 2 winding rods. So if you don't have the winding rods, you need this, because when you are winding the torsion springs you need at least 2 to make sure that it doesn't snap and hit back at you. And it came with one of those plastic bushings which go inside the torsion spring. So in this case mine left one broke, whereas the right one is still good. If you get someone to replace it, maybe it's worth to replace both at the same time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just replace the left one and leave the right one to break on its own. It might break as soon as maybe in a month. It might stay longer, but since I have 2 torsion springs I can always change it later on. So here is the first thing I will do is I will mark where this torsion spring is located here, and mark it on this so that I can extend the torsion spring when I put it right up to that mark. And then I'm going to mark this pulley, and this is very important here, is the pulley. If you can see that this wire on this pulley is the one that lifts the weight of the door. Actually there's one on this side and the other one on this side. So these 2 wires are the one doing the heavy lifting of pulling the door up. And this wire needs to be taut all the way, so you can't let it be flexing and loose when the door is up. So you want to make sure that when you put the pulley back, it should be in the same spot and also working as it should as before. So I'm going to mark this pulley location as well. The other thing to note is you have to take this pulley out and you have to pull the torsion spring all the way on this rod out this way or the other way. So since I'm doing it on this one, I have to take it out this way. I have to remove this pulley. You can remove these 2 bolts on the pulley and loosen it up, and it will come off. And the other side has to be loosened up, otherwise you can't have this rod slide out. So you have to release both the pulleys over there. Now before you do that, you have to release the tension on the existing torsion spring. because that spring is fully wound now, and you don't want to release this section, the connector between the two, without unwinding this. So to unwind that, I will use the two winding bars and slowly unwind it. So before you loosen the screws on this one, which is intact, you need to slide in the winding rod, and you have to hold on to that and make sure you have eye protection or other protection for your body, because if this starts unwinding on itself without you controlling it, it will be very dangerous. 26, 27, 28. Now I'm going to loosen these screws so that I can slide the pulley out, and on the same thing on the other side. And I'm also going to loosen these bolts. You can see that the two springs are connected using the bolt to this frame. So these bolts never move. This end moves as you, these ends turn as you are opening or closing the garage door. So when the garage door is fully closed all the way down, this spring is wound up, and it prevents, it kind of stores the energy until the garage door is fully open. When it's fully open, it starts unwinding, and at the top, when the garage door is at the top, it's at the most relaxed stage, and it has done its job of releasing that energy to pull the garage door up. So another thing to note is this left one is wound differently, the opposite way as the right one. So one is the right wind and the other one is left wind. And when you order in a pair, they always come, and this goes on the left side when you're looking from inside. So I have the left one broken, and this one with the red marker on it, that's the one which goes on the left. So I have loosened these pulleys, and this wire which is connected to the pulley, I just took it off the pulley from this notch and just kept it for here for now. And then I'm going to move this pulley a little bit so that you can see I still have the mark where the pulley was, and I'm going to slide this rod down, and I will be able to take the center rod off this location here. So if I move this, and now it will fall. You can see it has come off, and since it's heavy and I have two of the springs in there, so I will take that, slide this spring out, slide this pulley out first, and then slide this spring out and put the new spring, slide the new spring in through this side. So I did slide the new spring for the left side. Remember, this one has the red mark on it, so this goes on the left. And also remember to put the bearing over here, and this is a plastic bearing. You can probably put a metal bearing. I should have got a metal bearing, but I'm going to use the plastic bearing, and that one usually it goes, just slides into this. So when the rod moves, it lets it doesn't make the spring touch the rod using this bearing. And what I'll do is I'll lubricate the bearing a little bit so that it's smooth. And also I'm going to oil the springs once I'm done putting it together. So I'm going to join the spring to this, the one on the right side, and then put the pulley over there. So here I have the rod over here. I'm going to slide the pulley back in, and this should go in here. And then I'm going to push the rod back the other way, and then it goes there. So the good thing for now is, since it's open here, I will lubricate this, and it will so that it runs in this channel much easier. So I have tightened the pulleys and made sure that the wires are in the track on the pulley, as well as it's hanging in the notch here, or in the area where it pulls, so it doesn't touch any of the moving parts. So once that is done, I'm going to start winding the spring here. And the problem with this one is it is located in the notch where it was set before. The screws had put a lot of a notch into the aluminum pole here, and so I have to spread it out. And if you push it a little bit to outside, and you can see the mark was here before, you need to extend it to possibly right here, or a little bit over here, so that when the spring is winding, it is stretched out. Otherwise it will fail if it doesn't have space to stretch out. So there needs to be some spacing between each of those springs. So I'm going to hold it a little outside, and then I'm going to wind it.
Start.
I got 28 quarter rounds, so that's like 7 whole turns on this side. They say 1 turn per foot of the door, so I will leave it like that, and then I'm going to tighten the screws here so that it catches the bar, and then okay, I have to make sure that it bites into the bar. So one way to test it is it should pull the garage door, which is doing, and it should pull from the pulleys on the side. You will be able to see it's going to pull the garage door. So this is as tight as you can get, and now we'll lift. I'll release the latch here, and I'll try to lift it and see how. So it looks like it is dropping. It's not staying there. So it's still heavy. I have to do a few more turns. I'm going to open up the new one and do a couple more turns on the new one. So after balancing, it needed a few more turns on both of them. And one thing to note is you need to watch the pulleys, and these pulleys should be the cable, the cable should be very tight. If it goes off the pulley, then you need to readjust. What happens is, if the pulley loses the tension, it will keep, the wire will get off the pulley and it will start winding on the middle rod, and then you will have problems with the door. If you try to raise it, first of all, you'll feel that it's much easier. And the other thing is, if you leave it and you release it at any position, it should stay at that position. So this is pretty well balanced. As you can see, if I lower it and leave it at any position, it just stays there. So as the spring is unwinding, it is able to keep the rest of these panels that are still hanging down in the same position. The other thing to note is you need to watch the pulley and the wire that is pulling. So in this case, it is able to keep the tension on this wire. Same thing you should check on the other side as well. This is very important, because once you get to the higher positions, so if I push it up all the way, you should watch that the tension on the pulley should be there. If not, you should adjust the pulley. And also, in many cases, if the pulley is tight, in many cases you need to add more turns to the two, or in your case, if there is only one spring, you need to add one or two more turns, so that when the door is open, it still retains a little bit of tightness to the overall bar in there. Now it's all complete and it's operating fine. I have connected the opener to the garage door, and it's opening all the way. Here, it's pretty tight over here, and this one too, and then I can close it. That looks good.